Thank you. Can I get all our speakers for the session? We're going to have some questions via Slido. So we've got a little bit of time for questions. And I don't know if Trish is in the room. Are we still doing the thing with Trish? Later. Good. Okay. So just as people are coming up, Jacquie, I don't know, the first question is actually for you. I'll just ask it now as you're on the way up. Are invisible fences readily available, and is there an argument against their use?
Good question. Look, they're not. They're readily available, and it's important, I think, that it's a really good company that you get them from that can support you with cat training tools and actually help you with the training. We used Hidden Fence, and I'll give them a plug. But it's not for everyone. Like this cat, the one that we've got on, is as smart as hell, and the battery went flat, and he knew straight away the battery was flat. And I drive down the street, and he's sitting on the other side. You know, he's testing it, he listens to it. So it's not for everyone, but we've got a property that was going to cost tens of thousands of dollars to fence, and both our dogs have been on it since puppies. We only put the collars on them when we were outside because when we left. But it's for the person who is going to be, intelligent's not the right word, but to manage it appropriately. But it is a good choice if you don't want to put them in an aviary type situation. It's just another option. But I wouldn't say it's the first, it's the first option. But quite a lot of people on acreage are using it because they want the cat to have good quality of life and be able to prowl around, and the cost of building a really nice enclosure is very expensive for the size that they want. So it's not for everything, but there's some research that's been published that doesn't show it's not a welfare issue. Cats learn so fast within 3 days, and there's a special technique of teaching them with a special sender, and but they learn. God, they're smart. So, yeah, it's another option.
Thank you. Anne, you spoke about change and wanting to do it now, not in 2 months. How did you get that to happen so quickly?
I wondered if that was going to come back and bite me. Well, some of it didn't happen. Some of it did take longer than what I was wanting. So what I did was I focused on the things that I could do quickly and that I could actually support myself. And if I needed to get more support or convince a few more people, then those projects had to sort of take a little bit of a back burner for a week. But what I found was that you work on the things that are going to do the wins, make you the wins, you get the runs on the board, and then you can use that as leverage for something else. And so then you start to get your runs on the board, and then it starts to drop down the validity of, or not the validity, but it starts to weaken the other people's arguments as to why you shouldn't be actually even just trying it. And like I said the other day, pilot programs is, the best thing out. I use that all the time. And they said, how many have you got? And I said, as many as I need. And it's just getting the wins on the board. And if you got the data, that boring topic, if you got the data, which is so important to support it. And also, I had, I suppose, an advantage where I had recent knowledge, and like I'd been over to the States and I'd done all these courses and stuff, and the main person that was the problem, their ideas were like 20 years out of date. And they would sit there with their arms crossed and say, over my dead body. And I'm thinking, well, maybe we could arrange that, but I didn't actually, I didn't say it. But but it was getting the runs on the board. That was what gave you the strength to take the next step. Did that answer the question?
Yes, thank you. Diana, you often said that prior to the event weekend, you could see that you weren't going to pull enough numbers. What metrics told you this?
We track basically kind of everything. So people who come to the site.
Maybe just use the mic because it's hard.
Is now. So we have a bunch of tracking for our website, and we also have an online registration. So for events, you need to jump onto usually the Facebook page, click through to the link, and it basically takes you to an event rego where you can say, yep, I'm coming, this is how many people I'm bringing with me. And that allows us to cater and make sure we've got enough volunteers on site and all that type of thing. And all of our dogs usually have a volunteer with them. So the volunteer numbers are really huge. We need to make sure we do it. So we basically track those coming into every one of our adoption days, and there's a kind of pattern that we normally see, and that pattern was following a normal adoption day pattern, not a we need 600 or 800 people here pattern. So that's why we did it.
Okay, Rose, how did you manage to get your program approved and live in schools? Any recommendations on how to duplicate for other states?
Sure. Is that working? Yep. So lots of sales. Schools are really hard places to get into, so it is really literally just, cold calling, banging on doors, asking to see the right person, going back and getting it in front of teachers to see the program. And we had various people who are involved in the curriculum, education curriculum department, have a look at the program over before we did the pilot program, just to make sure that it was ticking all the boxes. And then we ran a pilot program in 2017 in term 3 and term 4 to see how the program went. And it was, thumbs up, everyone's loving it, and then, full bore off we went. What's the other part of the question?
Yeah.
Was there another
The other part was, it's gone. How do you duplicate for other states? Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, the important one. So come and talk to us at the trade store. We really want to see this program. There's no point, reinventing the wheel, because otherwise we would have copied it or brought it from somebody else to able to use. But we couldn't find anything that was as specific as this program to create that long-term social change. We want to have touch base with students every year, so that we're constantly talking to them and explaining to them, about why all these things are so important. And we want to see this program rolled out, and we want to support other organisations to get this program rolled out so we can make change. Because my first day in a shelter, 26 cages full of cats looking at me and kittens, and I just cried for hours because it's human waste. And from that day, it was like, time to change. We're going to change something. So come and talk to us. Let there be no barriers.
Yeah, I think many people in this room can relate to that experience. Holly, a question for you. How do you say no to animals needing urgent care? I know a lot of rescues go over capacity and burn out, as it's hard to say no.
Yeah, so I feel like every time I answer a question, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a tough one. It is. This one is too. I think that you have to have plans in place for those types of cases. So if you are an organization that can handle that, those are the animals that you're going to want to prioritize and make sure that they get the care that they need right away. But if your organization does not have the ability to care for those, you want to make some sort of relationship in your community with an organization, whether it's another animal welfare organization or a private practitioner in the area who you could refer that animal to, and hopefully the owner would then follow through with your recommendations for that. So I think it's all about pre-planning.
Okay, so I've just got the message that it is lunchtime officially. So lunch is served in Nosh Restaurant, and we need to be back here at 1 p.m. sharp. Thank you to our panelists and speakers, and thanks everyone for your great attention.